Leaving Crazy Town with Finn and Sarah and our guest Mark, episode number 2. We're going to talk about some very, very sad stuff. No, we're going to talk about grief, a natural process that everyone goes through. Got anything to add, Sarah?
It's just a normal part of the human experience, and I think people, I don't know, resist it, and then it lasts forever, rather than kind of just being okay with how you're feeling.
Raise your hand if you've experienced grief ever.
All right, this is the thing I want to
There
say.
you go.
It's the common denominator to the human experience. Everybody has losses, and so why do we pathologize it?
How do you feel about loss? Mark, have you had any loss? Yeah.
My ma just died September 26, and I spent a lot of time taking care of her. She had Alzheimer's and dementia for like 17 years.
Oh my gosh,
I was
Mark.
with her 14 years every day.
Her name was Lucy.
Lucy.
I did not know that. 14 years?
Yeah.
That is a long time.
And I try to act like everything's all right, but I miss her.
I bet you do.
And people ask me how am I doing with that, and I say fine a lot, but am I really? Sometimes I don't know for sure.
It's the quiet moments that get me with my loss. The quiet moments. You know, you're at home, alone, the person was there, and you really feel their absence. And
Absolutely.
it just like kind of overwhelms me. But when I'm around other people, you know, they're like, oh, I do the same
It's
thing.
a distraction.
I'm fine,
Yeah.
you know. But I imagine, I don't know if this is true, but if your mom had Alzheimer's for so long, there may have been a lot of gradual losses for you along the
That's
way.
right.
Oh,
That's
wow.
right.
I can't even
It
imagine.
never got better, it only got worse. But she really kept it together to the very end.
Wow.
She did the best she could at keeping it together. Yeah.
That must have been like such a deep relationship, though. I mean, 14 years with a parent every day. I couldn't imagine
And I gotta
spending
tell
that
you,
kind of time with my parents.
I watched your interaction with her, and it
Very
really was,
loving.
a beautiful thing.
You know, I've been sober for a while, and I was at a meeting with her. They are having a pig roast, annual pig roast meeting. Is it okay to talk about this?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And they went around everybody, even people not in the program, sitting in lounge chairs outside. And I said, I just got 25 years, and and then my mom, who never shared at a meeting in her life, was next, and she said,
Oh,
I've been sober 85 years. I don't see what the big deal is. You're supposed to be sober, she said.
Yeah.
got it.
What I find helps with my grief is just what you're doing, is telling stories about the people I
Yes.
lost.
Ah.
It
Right.
still is. I think to talk about it, you know, I share things about Margaret that people didn't know, little things, and it brings them alive.
I love it when you share things about Margaret that we don't know. I wish you'd do that more.
Will.
Well, I don't know if everybody knows that Finn's wife died. I don't know, like that's something that, I mean, we know because we're on a certain AA meeting with everybody, but we've met Lucy on Zoom with Mark, and Margaret was on the meeting.
Yeah, we've had
initially.
a few people on the
Yeah.
meeting pass
Yes.
away.
Yes.
So we've all really been there for our losses together.
Oh my God, you know what I'm thinking about right now?
Hmm.
Oh, I'm gonna cry again. Literally, and I'm not kidding, folks, we're all in sobriety, but literally one of the 2 times that I was this close to drinking in recovery was after my mother's funeral. And I mean, I probably wasn't that close, but I remember I was in graduate school in California, and I came here for the funeral, and I remember driving to an AA meeting and thinking, nobody knows me here anymore. Like those thoughts of like,
Separation.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I could drink, nobody would know because I was in California, and I wasn't really aware at all. This is the disconnect with the feelings. Like I just felt like drinking. I wasn't really aware of having sadness or missing my mother.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, and I
Yeah.
think
I know.
I don't know about this for Mark, but getting to see Mark and his mom on the meeting, and then like for me, I think my experiencing Margaret's death would have been completely different. Zoom was so much more intimate to
Yes.
me than, because we're all in each other's homes, we're meeting people
Yes.
from all over, that I felt like we all lost something together.
Yes.
You know, we all lost Lucy. We all, and granted, it's different when it's your person, but
Right.
I didn't feel disconnected because everyone was going through the
That's
loss with
right.
me, because
That's
every day we were all together.
That's right.
You
That's a
know?
great point. But support being such a great tool.
How did
when
that?
you're in grief.
What worked for you, as far as getting through it?
Yeah.
Mark?
What's helped?
Oh, me. And the people from the program who showed up to support us. You know, you hear about it when somebody else dies.
Yep.
Oh, these people, they came and they supported, they gave me cards, they called, they made sure I was okay. It's, when it happens to you, it's overwhelming, the support.
The support, right.
It's like, how could I have done that without them?
People come out of the woodwork you don't anticipate.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah.
Well, and what's interesting is some people can handle the grief and some people can't. Like, I do remember when people have passed away in my life, people that maybe I thought would be right there with me weren't, and other people that seemed, you know, that I didn't have a deep relationship with were fine with it. So everybody's different about how they kind of tolerate grief, deal with someone else grieving.
Well, my friend Janie K dying not too long after Margaret.
That's right.
I couldn't even address
Janie,
that.
yeah.
I couldn't go there
That's
because
right.
I was still, and they were so close, and Margaret had introduced me to her. I'm not gonna say it was really hard for me in comparison to someone else, but I recognized that my own grief was so prevalent that to address my best friend dying,
Yes.
you know, at the same time, it was
Right.
like
It was too much.
it was too much until recently, you know.
Well, that's the other thing. Sometimes grief happens a year later or 6 months later. I mean, yeah.
It changes. I
It
don't know if it
changes.
changed for you, Mark. Like
I don't know how to handle it.
The stages of death. Okay, people have taken those where you're like in denial, you're this, you're that, and then whatever. They've taken those stages of death and applied them to a loss
grief.
of someone else. But really, what it is, the stages of death when you know you're dying.
Right.
So you're in denial, whatever. None of us who lost someone are in denial that we lost someone. We experience it. And I love that. I think that book,
Elizabeth
that I'm talking
Kubler-Ross wrote that book and people misinterpreted
people
it.
misinterpret it as
Right.
if we're going to go through those stages where grief of someone you lost that you're experiencing
It's
is
different.
really, it's like a spiral. You're in, you're out. It comes back around and blindsides you, and
Right.
you know, a smell might happen. It's not that we're ever in
It's
denial.
not linear.
Yeah.
It's not linear.
But I don't know if this is the hard part for you. There's the loss and there's the grief, and then there's the joy of our life.
Right.
And to me, that's where I get confused. I'm like, feel so happy, but then I'm having sadness, and I'm like, I'm used to having one feeling,
right.
not
The both
them at
and, but
the same time.
It's like Pong.
Yeah.
well, and it's like you're saying. I mean, part of this is being okay with whatever you're feeling. Being okay when you have joy and you remember great things about the person and you're having a good life, and being okay with the sadness and loss and feelings of grief when you're feeling that. You know, we talk a lot about the both and, that the human experience is all of it. It doesn't have to be one way. And I think especially with grief, people have this belief, oh, I should do this and it should be this way. And everybody has their unique experience of grief.
What have you done?
I got really regretful about, I could have done this or I should have done that, and I didn't do it, you know, and I totally forgot about all the things that I did do that were
Yes.
good.
No, you start full. Oh God, yeah.
I'm just focused on that stuff that I really shouldn't have done or said.
Right.
And yeah,
Oh.
and so,
Regrets.
it still bothers me today. You know, it's still not gone.
I try to push those out
So
of my
it's
mind.
forgiving yourself, really.
I try to
Because
not.
it's all made up. I mean, we don't know. It's made up thoughts, right?
I'll tell you, I try
Anyway.
not to entertain it. There was, we were in the hospital, and I think it was like a week before Margaret died, and they were offering her like Tylenol or Advil. It wasn't working, so they went and they gave her Dilaudid or morphine. And I'm thinking, she's an addict. Do we got to jump from Tylenol to morphine? So I said to the doctor, she's perfectly fine to speak for herself. I said, you know, she's an addict. Do you need to jump from Tylenol to morphine? Is there anything in between? And she talked to me after they left. She said, I'll take care of my own medicine. She said, it's hard for me to ask for pain relief because of my addiction, and now you're making me have to ask for it twice.
Oh,
And
Ooh,
and
think
she's
of
like,
that.
and she said, I did not realize how much pain I've been in for months
Oh.
until it was relieved. I replayed that like,
oh, you felt bad
oh
about it.
God,
Right.
I was like, why is that? You know, I kept replaying it, like, you know, and I apologized to her, and we definitely, you know, and then other things, I'm like, oh, should I have done this? Should I have done that?
Yeah.
I went for a walk with a friend, and she was sick in bed, and I said, you want me to stay home? She said no, gave me complete carte blanche to go for my walk, went for a walk, came home, and I had to basically dress her and drag her to the hospital. She was so bad, and then that was the last time she was home. And I replayed that. Why did I go on that walk? Why did I take the time? You know, if I was home, I could have gotten to it sooner. I would have.
Right.
So I get it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But what I do when that creeps into my head,
Yeah.
I'm like, nope.
What do you do?
Well, because
I push it over here, and I'm like, that. I did the best I could. I just
That's right.
console myself. I did the best I could, and I'm not going to play those games.
I'm like, does God forgive me? You know what
Oh,
I
Mark.
mean? I screwed up.
Yeah.
You know, does He really forgive me? Doesn't He? You know.
Well, you hear me on the morning meeting.
God
I don't
loves you
believe
no
in
matter
forgiveness.
what, bud.
I know I've said that to a million people, but
So part of you
Let me ask
really
you something.
wonders that then.
sure, right now.
Yeah.
When
Well-
she was on a UTI run for months, and she wouldn't sleep, and they couldn't even.
I can't
The
even
adrenaline was going so hard that the drugs didn't affect her. Ma was tough,
Yeah.
and she wanted to go look for a baby in the backyard at 3 in the morning that her mother dropped off. I don't know if that happened when she was little or something. She
Yeah.
babysat, but she kept going to that thing, and I couldn't talk her out of it. Finally, someone said, get her dressed, take
go
her in the
do it.
car, and go look for the baby. I said, at 3 in the morning? Come on.
Right.
But I did, and we drove around and didn't even bring up the baby, and she didn't say nothing about it no more. And when we stopped, I think McDonald's was the only place we could get an ice cream, and she had ice cream. And she said, one time, she said, I'm tired, let's go home and go to bed. I said, okay.
Oh,
So I took
well-
her home, and she got her dressed, she went to bed. But the other times, I would argue with her.
Of course.
There's
you would.
nothing there. You know, and it
Right.
would stress her out. It would stress me out, and I would
Mark,
say things
You're
I should
caretaking.
never have
Do you know how
said.
many caretakers die before the person you're caretaking?
Absolutely.
Because you're under a tremendous amount of stress.
And it's not being okay with how you felt, which is a normal response. You'd get frustrated and irritated. I got that way with my own dad. Go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Well, I just
Because
feel
when they
that God knows
perseverate
our
on
hearts.
something, yes.
I feel that God knows
Yes.
our hearts.
What was that word?
When someone perseverates, my dad had
Think about it
dementia,
over and
and he
over again.
kept like saying the same thing over and over, and I'd be like, no, that's not true. But arguing, like the nurse said to me, arguing with him and trying to convince him otherwise so the person who has dementia
Makes it worse.
isn't going to work.
But what I
Yes.
want to say is, like, somebody made a suggestion to you.
And
it
you
sounds
did it.
outlandishly ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
But yet you did it because
Yes.
you wanted relief. You wanted relief for yourself, for your mom. But we're human beings. Do you know how many people get in trouble for abusing their parents
Oh my
because
gosh.
they can't take
Tolerate the
it?
anger.
The closest relationship you have is with children and parents, and here you are with your mom. You're caring for her, and she's got Alzheimer's. It's a 24-hour thing.
Oh my
You're up in the
gosh.
middle of the night. Are you kidding? I'd snap.
Absolutely.
I'd be like, here's the highway. You
Absolutely.
know? But your heart's pure, and God knows that.
The good thing about it was when I tried to apologize to her when she was thinking somewhat normally again, she didn't remember it even happened.
Of course. But see, that's the thing too, is like it's inside of you.
It's still
Like
there.
our work has to be about us and healing ourselves and forgiving ourselves for what we didn't do or did do. I mean, that's what recovery, the steps are about.
What I do is when things creep up, I say, it's okay, Finn, you did the best you could. And
At the time.
over time, you might start to believe it. I would just, if you wanted a suggestion, when it pops
This is
into your
kind
head.
of a fifth step for me on that. That I've
Absolutely.
been meaning to write down and share with someone. I didn't know I was going
Yes.
to share it with you, though.
Tough stuff,
Well, it's
people.
a resentment towards yourself.
And I have to tell you, it's going to help people. A lot of people will relate. Anyone who's
Absolutely.
taken care. I used to think, oh, my mom dropped dead or whatever. And I watched my friends' parents get older. And I watched them care for them when they're ailing. And I thought, thank God my mother dropped dead.
Right.
I didn't have to go through that. I see it, how it takes over your life.
I've told you this before. Some of the hardest years of my life were when my dad was in assisted living and I was kind of his primary caretaker, and I wasn't even living with him, and I was edgy a lot of the time and frustrated.
You feel guilt. I think you deserve a medal.
Oh, absolutely. Talk about a reframe. You were a
Jesus.
saint. I mean, I am telling you. All right, so tools are
Yeah.
to be gentle with yourself.
And don't entertain the thought. Say, I did the best I could. Fake it.
Yes.
If you don't believe it, tell yourself, because there's something about repetitively consoling and caring for yourself that does help. It works for me.
Right, and what would you say to a sponsee? What would you say to your best friend? You'd
God
say,
loves you no
Yes!
matter if you're good or you're bad,
Mark,
just as
amen.
much.
Mark, do you have
Amen.
children?
But telling you is different than telling me.
well,
Do you have children, Mark?
Yeah, too.
All right. How would you talk to your child? Talk to yourself that way. That's what I tell a lot of my sponsees.
That's right.
They're really good parents, and I say, you know what? There's a little you inside. So talk to little Mark,
That's right.
like Daddy Mark would talk to his child.
Okay.
Good tip.
Respond to your thoughts that
I'll
way.
try it.
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
You don't even have to feel better in the moment. Just do it.
Lucy used to call me her baby boy.
Oh, jeez.
Look at me.
Yeah. Well, you were her baby boy.
You know what? And I just was losing my train of thought, but I had the greatest tip. You were saying talk to little Mark, and I was going to say forgiving yourself and being okay with our behavior, I mean, is so critical, because I'm thinking of tools. Like, the thing with like perseverating and beating ourselves up is we're not available to do God's work. We're not available for ourselves. We're not available for others. So
And remember,
being
my thing
gentle with
is,
yourself.
I know everybody keeps talking about forgiveness. We're doing the best we can in that moment.
Amen.
Forgiveness isn't necessary.
That's right. And I truly believe that. At that moment, you were doing the absolute best you can, and everybody is. I
Fasten
totally
your
believe that.
seatbelts,
Fasten
people.
your
We're
seatbelts.
outta
We're
here.
leaving Crazy Town.